Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You know that United States of America likes NGOs very much when they are in different countries. And especially when they are supported or, owned, or how should I put it, owned, from behind by George Soros. They like that. They defend the rights of the NGOs. Well, the thing is, they like NGOs when the NGOs are focused on other countries and other societies. When the NGOs are coming out and say something remotely critical of the United States, then the NGOs are bad. So we have this case right now where we have an NGO from China that calls United States certain kind of names and portrays it as being a warmonger and committing human rights violations and so on, and provides evidence for that. Now, I know evidence is very inconvenient. So let's see what these guys are saying. This article comes from Next Shark from Yahoo, August 10, 2022. Chinese NGO accused warmongering US of violating human rights in the Middle East. All right, so the Chinese are on the verbal offensive and some decision-making actions. Remember, they say we're not going to talk to you anymore. The channels of communications are temporarily, or at least for the moment, closed. So the Chinese Society for Human Rights Studies, a Chinese NGO, accused the United States of committing human rights violations in the Middle East in a report published on Tuesday. In the report titled, and I'm quoting, "U.S. commits serious crimes of violating human rights in the Middle East and beyond." I want to say CSHRS, that's this Human Rights Studies, the Chinese Society for Human Rights Studies, listed some of the supposed violations the US committed while at war in the Middle East, including crimes against humanity, war crimes, and the torture of prisoners. Since the Cold War ended, the US has been, and I'm quoting, been involved in almost all major conflicts and wars in the Middle East and surrounding regions, the report states. True? True. Citing statistics from January 2019 report by Smithsonian Magazine, the CSHRS noted that the US has launched wars and military operations in 40% of the world's nations since 2001, under its Global War on Terrorism initiative. 40% of the world's nations, and 21 years of here? Calling the USA, and I'm quoting, warmongering nation, the report claimed that the US caused, I'm quoting, direct, serious, and lasting damage, quote unquote, to locals after launching the Gulf War 1990-1991, the Afghanistan War 2001-2021, and the Iraq War 2003-2011, among others. The NGO also accused the US of creating a, quote unquote, humanitarian disaster rarely seen throughout the world, end quote, after becoming involved in the Syrian war and in the Libyan war. One of the NGO's examples was that the casualties during the Afghanistan war, over 174,000 people died, 47,000 of whom were civilians. Is that a war crime? Is that a war crime? Is that a war crime? Is it? Or not? Well, collateral damage, Of whom were civilians, the report said, citing Brown University Coast of War project, which has since been taken down. Of course it was. In addition to the casualties, the NGO cited the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and stated that the war displaced 3.5 million non-Afghans and forced 2.6 million Afghans to leave their homes. Oh, that's not good. Around 209,000 Iraqi civilians died. 209,000. That's bigger than Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 45. Iraqi civilians died during the Iraq War, and more than 9.2 million Iraqis were either forced out of their homeland or had to become refugees. The NGO stated, citing statistics company Statista. So it's not their statistics, they just put it together and say, here it is from you guys. This information is available even now. You're just 2 clicks away. You just have to put it together. And I'm quoting, the US initiated Gulf War, the Iraq War, and subsequent violent conflicts have destroyed much of Iraq infrastructure, grossly reduced the capacity of the country's public service, and the people are faced with a lack of water, electricity, and medical care, with the poor, children, widows, and elderly, and the most vulnerable groups suffering the most, end quote, the NGO report read. The report also stated that the US carried out airstrikes that often killed civilians during the anti-terrorism operations in places such as Syria. Besides war, the NGO accused the US of turning, and I'm quoting, turning a blind eye to the global spread of the COVID-19 pandemic by continuing to impose unilateral sanctions on Syria, Iran, and other nations, which in turn makes it more challenging for those places to acquire medical supplies to combat the virus. And I'm quoting again, at this critical time, both for global public health reasons and to support the rights and lives of millions of people in these countries, sectoral sanctions should be eased or suspended, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet said on 2020, which was quoted in the report, and I'm quoting again, in a context of global pandemic, impending medical efforts in one country heighten the risk for all of us. So in one country heighten the risk of all of us. By fiscal year 2021, the US had over 9,400 sanctions in effect, making the country the only quote-unquote sanctions superpower in the world, according to the report. One of the countries that has reportedly been affected for years is Iraq, which lost $150 billion in oil revenue from August 1990 to May 2003. And I'm quoting, facts show that the United States has seriously violated the basic human rights of local people in the Middle East and other places, causing permanent damage and irreparable losses in countries and people in the region, end quote. The report said, the nature, I'm quoting again, the nature of American hegemony and the barbarity, cruelty, and blah, 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 its power politics have been completely exposed, and the people, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is the conclusion. Now, were there facts? Whether those were facts. Do we like them? No. Should we ignore them? No. But, you know, it's the reason why I looked at this is because it was very clearly expressed. Bam, 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 with examples. And the thing is, the statistics and the studies were not made in China. They're not produced in China. They were from the United States, they were from the United Nations. So independent, however you want to call them, from colleges in the United States. And here you have it. I'm not here to portray the United States as, you know, this and that. But when you pretend that you are clear and clean as a crystal, and you point fingers at everybody else, and then you sit on this garbage, then, you know, how do you want people to look at you? And I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about the United States of America, the population, or no, those weasels there. And those weasels, if you think that they are in power, they're not in power. Business interests. That's what's in power. Banking, international banking system, businesses, these are in power. And what's strange is that the military-industrial complex here, it's actually the one who is the, how should I put it, the most independent player. Why? Because it's got the guns. If those guys really want, they can take care of the other guys in one night. In one night, they can go and take care of them and talk to them, if you know what I mean. So the military-industrial complex, they have to be left alone, and they do whatever they want. But if they really want, they can take over anything they want. Why? Because they have the guns, and the other guys have what? The money. You know, the industrial complex, military-industrial complex has more money than those guys, it seems like, or something. But they can do whatever. They can show up and they can clear things. They can, you think you're strong, you have this. They come at your house, you open they come with warrants. like they came to visit Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence. And they're going to be signed by 50,000 judges, not by one. Why? Because of this. So it seems like Taiwan thing really angered these guys, but we'll see if they're going to do more than this. I think they're just going to jump straight clear with both feet on Russia's boat. I mean, they already built their boat. They're together on it already. It's just that Russia is ready with one oar. Are you joining me or what? And China's going to jump over there and start rowing both of them in the same direction to pick up India and then pick up Brazil and all the others. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.